a star. Just do you. Somebody's got to raise the bar. Just do you. Somebody's got to change the game. Just do you.
You're muted, brother.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to text at the same time. What's going on, everybody?
Sorry about that. We had some issues going on with trying to connect. So I do apologize those who are watching me. I'm so sorry if you were getting different voices coming in and out. So just bear with us. Okay, so we had Lost Child, we have Eli Isabel, Mr. Carl Smith is in the building, and joining us also is Mr. Stan. What's going on, Stan?
Let's see, can everyone hear me? The sound was on the loop like Lost Child.
Yes,
how's everybody
we can
doing?
hear you.
What up, Stan?
My man Eli, the running man.
All right, guys, I'm so excited to have y'all here with me tonight. The men is taking over the Rebirth.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm in control of the questions, man.
As usual.
Now, of course, you know, it's open. So whatever you guys, if you want to jump in, there's something you want to say. If I miss something, make sure that you just, you know, go ahead and put it out there. So I want to welcome everybody that's watching on social media. Thank you for joining me. Please feel free to make any comments. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions down in the chat room. And we are going to get started. But before I get started, I just want to let everybody know that I am dropping an online course May 9th on Mother's Day. It's called 12 Steps to Starting Your Life Over After Life Crisis, no matter what that crisis may be. Please make sure that, you know, if this is not for you, if you know someone that could benefit from this, make sure that they reach out at info@rebirthu.com. I will send you a link to register for the class. Right now, pre-registration price is really cheap up until April 30th, starting May 1st. It will go back to regular price. So again, if you're interested in taking the online course, make sure you reach out to me at info@rebirthu.com, or you can simply just DM me in my inbox only about the course.
Sure that is.
Just thought I'd put that out there.
Dangerous place in that inbox.
Only about the course, okay?
They be like, hey baby, I'm having a personal trauma.
I just thought I'd just put that disclaimer out there.
What your sign is.
Right. So again, welcome. All right, guys, y'all ready?
Let's go.
Before we get started, let's toast it up. Thank you. Get your drinks in the air. Thank you for joining me. If you don't have one, it's okay, Lost Child. I know you're in the car right now. But toast to you all. Thank you for hey, wait a minute, hold on, Eli. Where you got your camera position? It look like you on a cover of Playgirl, man.
Oh. I look at my interior design, Shay.
Fix that, bro.
I'm just gonna hold it up here. You got me at my job in the break room.
Okay.
I'm glad you saw that.
Cheers. Thank you for joining me tonight. Let's have some fun. Okay, guys. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. We're going to be talking about Black men in therapy. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to talk about trauma. We're going to be talking about racial trauma. And also about breaking the cycle. So I have a lot of questions here that I want to throw out there. Feel free, you know, if you don't have any comment in regards to the question, then that's fine. I can move on to the next person. Okay. All right. So my first question, and of course, Eli, I know you got some things going on over there that you can jump in as well. So I want to let's start off with Black men in therapy. Let's talk about that, right? Because we all know that therapy, mental health, and going to therapy is like a stigma in the Black community, right? But I see my brothers and sisters coming in the door. I have to say probably like a good 95% of my caseloads are African American. So
Wow.
people are coming in, they are getting therapy, and I'm really excited about that because it's needed, right? So of course, the practice that I work for, the Center for Child Development and Delaware Center for Counseling and Wellness, we make sure that we are out in the community and we are talking about therapy, and we're making it okay, and we're normalizing it, that it's okay to seek help, and that you don't have to be crazy, as people say, to have a therapist. So I just would like to hear your perspective about mental health in the Black community, and especially mental health when it comes down to Black men. Whoever want to start, they can jump in.
Well, I think definitely over the last, I'll say probably 10 to 15 years, I think that we have been, Black men have been more accepting of participating in therapy and trying to get their needs met. We have that long-standing tradition of, and we've talked about this before, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors who were strong. We stand on the shoulders of our grandparents who went through Jim Crow and civil rights. So we're strong people. So we traditionally, in our minds, we don't need no extra help because we can handle everything. And I think that we definitely come around, and also let me throw this in there, God, we just pray and all your problems will go away.
Mm-hmm.
Tradition, things right there when it comes to our attitudes toward therapy. And I'm really glad that it started to shift it, because there's a lot of trauma in our community. There's a lot of trauma with Black men, like us every day. We're living, we could walk out the door and have an encounter with the police or another brother who may need therapy. And, we deal with that every day. We're in the middle of this chaos. So I think it's great. And I think that we definitely turned the corner with Black men in therapy.
Yes. Thank you, Eli, for that. Anybody else have another perspective or a different?
I think piggybacking off of Eli and also what you said earlier, you said the stigma was always, if you go to therapy, somebody's crazy. Somebody's always got to be crazy to go to therapy. But in the past few years, I'm glad that the perception of that has definitely changed. That more brothers and sisters are going to therapy and talking their demons out. And a lot of them that I know personally, some that I never thought would actually see a therapist have went, and they found it helpful. So I think it's good that our people, instead of just kind of trying to be macho or, we're strong and we can just deal with everything or pray our troubles away, they're going to talk to licensed professionals such as yourself and getting the help that they need. So that's definitely what's up.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else got any thoughts on therapy?
Shay, I have a question for you. You said 95%. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, making sure. You said 95% of the people that come into your practice are Black. Do you think that you being African American helps with that? Do you think that African American clients or patients that need help, that they would seek out an African American therapist as opposed to a white or Asian or South Asian or Iranian therapist?
Mm-hmm. So I want to so it's 95% of my caseload people that I work with are African American. Our practice overall, we have a mixture of people, but we have a great percentage that are African American. So to answer your question, yes, I do feel when people see that there is someone sitting across from them that look like them and that can understand them and can relate to them, it makes them more comfortable, right? Because listen, I believe we all have trauma, right? I believe as African Americans or people of color, we are born into trauma. Okay. So when you come into my office and I say, well, is there a history of trauma? And you tell me no, I'm kind of like, I'm looking at your skin color and I'm like, yeah, there is a history of trauma. But the problem is we normalize it, right? It's part of what we've always done generations ago, right? We normalize it. So a lot of people don't realize that some of the things that they are dealing with is trauma related, right? So it's so important to be able to sit across from you, from someone that has the experience, can really relate to what your struggle may or may not have been. So I do think that it's important, and that's why we have to make ourselves, we have to put ourselves out there as clinicians of color, to be able to say, hey, it's okay. This is a safe space for you to come. I understand. Now, I'm not saying that any other therapist that is not of color can't help and can't identify. Absolutely. If you are trained on diversity, if you are trained on different cultures and understanding, but it's more comfortable for someone of color to be able to sit across from someone that looks like them, and they can just feel safe in that space. So, yeah. Any other comments or questions on the therapy?
Just real quick, Shay, I wanted to add that as a Black male who does some counseling here, I'm requested by women with young boys, with Black boys. I get that a lot, and it's really weird when I do have to work with a white kid. It's almost like weird in the back of my mind. I'm like, you should be able to figure this out. The world is your footstool. Like, what are your problems? What are you going through? So it's not like, I work with anybody, but majority of my clients are always, and I say I only want to work with boys, and they're normally Black. They're the powers that be are always sending me Black boys, which is great. But when I get that one white kid here, and I'm just like, bro, these are self-made problems right here. This nonsense. But anyway, I digress. By my white clients.
But being a Black therapist is like, a Black male therapist is like a unicorn. I mean, it's not many. It's so hard to find a Black male therapist. We have plenty of females that are our therapists, but men is very, very hard. So when you do find a Black male that's good, and it's experience, it's like you want to hold on to that person. So Ed and I, we tend to we bounce clients back and forth. He'll refer people to me, I refer people to him, and I don't know if issues are always fair, Ed.
Sorry, I just don't get no kickback. Save all that money I'm sending over to you, but it's a story for time.
He's so silly. So let's talk about mental health really quick, right? Have any of you ever had an experience of dealing with your own mental health? If you want to share, if you don't want to share, that's fine. But I think sometimes people don't really realize what depression looks like or feel like, what anxiety may look like and feel like. And it might not be something that you battled your whole life. It could have been, it could be situational, something that was situational that put you there. I'll disclose first. For me, I did go through my little thing of depression, of course, after going through a divorce, right? So I had my period in my time that I was kind of in and out. So it was a situational thing. It wasn't a thing where I battled depression, my whole life, but it was an adjustment, what we may call an adjustment disorder. It was life-changing for me, right? Have you guys ever experienced, issues like that?
I said, well, in your original, I'm sorry, I kind of jumped in.
No, you're fine.
Well, I know in our podcast before the apocalypse, I had talked about dealing with anxiety supercharged by side effects from blood pressure medicine. But I know last year I had some signs of depression, as I'm a so-called essential worker in the early years of the apocalypse around March, April. And you turn on the news and, COVID was increasing state by state. I'm seeing, in those early stages before we knew about the masks and knew about how effectively that it spread, there were Wawa workers, transit workers in New York, Amazon workers that were like dying from the disease. and then I'm continuing to go to work every day at my day job. And there were times when like I would have trouble sleeping at night, and I didn't realize why. Trouble staying asleep, trouble waking up. Like I just a disinterest in things, and it wasn't until, and it kind of came in waves, and it wasn't until I was out of a wave and looked back, when I went back to my normal sleeping pattern, I was like, wait a minute, this could be stress, just the mental stress of watching the news, hearing about people dying, hearing about the cases going up, and then you go in my job, and people are acting crazy. Some people don't want to wear masks. People want you to have a hazmat suit on. There was a lot going on. So I know more recently, I had went through that last year, and I just found a way to deal with it with limiting the news I watched, informing myself so it wouldn't activate my own hypochondriac tendencies, and then like what we have now, the apocalypse is the new normal. So you just you adapt, and then you continue on.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Stan. And I actually, what you were doing is something that we would suggest in therapy. Unplug, turn off the news. You can't sit there and listen to that stuff day in and day out. It will affect you. You have to unplug from the TV, unplug from social media. We get traumatized. We get secondhand trauma by constantly watching and hearing things that are traumatic, that is causing us to feel anxious, that is causing us to feel depressed. So we got to be careful about how we feed our mind, how we feed our spirit. And we have to learn to be able to unplug and detach from a lot of these things that are causing, us to feel this way. Anybody else have anything else to say on the mental health?
I'll say mental health, actually,
you're crazy, man.
Making light of a bad situation. Stan and actually you, Shay, have been my unofficial therapists for umpteen years. I had a lot of rage, I guess you could say rage issues, and Stan has literally pulled me off the ledge of acting on my impulses, especially when we were younger. Just a lot of pent up frustration and rage for stuff that went on in the house,
right,
and things like that, which kind of came to a head back in 2018 when my father passed. And that's it. Really, I was really in some bad places back then. But talking to you guys, like I said, Shay and Stan, and just not even bringing up my father, but just talking to you guys about regular stuff, and you guys just talking about stuff and hearing you guys, and putting smiles on my faces, that helped a lot. I'll probably never be the same again because my father and I were really close. And this is going to be a little weird. His ashes are literally sitting right behind me on the bar, right where he wants to be, where the liquor's at.
Right.
But it's I'm in a better place definitely now than then. When I slide, I'm always in a group text with somebody, with Stan and the boys, or I hit you up, Shay Boogie, once in a while, and we'll shoot the shit. So mental health is definitely something that I don't take lightly.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And then I think that's the other thing. If you don't want to reach out for therapy, as long as you have a strong support system around you, people that actually really care and that's willing to listen to you, and will direct you in the right direction if they're going to give advice, because sometimes you don't even need anybody to give advice. You just want the person to just be quiet. And I guess a lot of times people say, well, how do I know? How do I know if a person wants my advice or if they just want to just vent? And I always tell people, ask the person, how can I support you through this? Right? That's just an easy, simple question. How can I support you through this? And then okay, you got cats around.
Yeah. Trying to be all serious, and she's clawed at my leg.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and really putting yourself out there in regards to this, because this is a very sticky subject and not everybody is willing to talk about mental health and therapy. So so the next piece I want to talk about is healing and self-love. When we talk about healing and self-love, we always kind of refer it to women as if we the only ones out here broken or need to be healed.
I said, you're broken, a broken people.
Watch it, Stan.
That's what Kevin Samuels is here to save us all.
Right. So let's talk about that. Let's when I say healing and self-love, what does that mean to you? I'm going to call on Paul Lostchild on this one. See what he has to say. You're muted. There you go.
You said healing and self-love.
Yeah. What's the first thing come to your mind when I say healing and self-love? And don't say a woman.
That was not going to be my
Okay.
I think for me, like I've been listening to everybody else talk, I kind of play the background sometimes, especially with this, because it's all new to me. And I think I'm more of a client more than a doctor. So I'm listening to y'all from the other side of the fence, basically. But like the healing and self-love thing for me, I think that's all I had for years. I mean, nobody ever addressed my mental health. Nobody ever addressed the issues that I was dealing with when I was a kid. As I was a kid, I was told to fix your face and act right. You know what I mean? And that's all I was told. And I wasn't allowed to ask people questions or go to somebody else for help or whatever. So like healing and self-love, I had to figure it out on my own. And that's what I've always done. Like self-love is all I've ever got. So it's I don't know. That's all I do know how to do. I mean, it's outside of me to go to somebody else and act up, because from 13, 14 years old up until as recent as 43 years old, I've had to figure it out on my own. So that's all I know.
Wow, that's pretty deep and profound. Thank you for sharing that. I want to address something that you said. You were told to fix your face and pretty much suck it up, right? And I know that is something that a lot of Black men have been told when they were younger as boys. Don't if you have a young boy and a young girl and they both fall 9 times out of 10, they both fall at the same time, the little girl is going to be catered to more quicker than the little boy will be, right? We might pick up the little girl, dust her off, sweetheart, you okay? All, and the little boy was like, all right, you okay? Don't you cry, suck it up, get yourself together, fix your face, right? So from early on, young Black boys have been conditioned not to show their feelings, not to show their emotions. And then, you guys grow up into these, amazing kings that you are, whether you consider yourself to be one or not. You grow up into these kings, but still have things that are not healed with inside, because you're dealing with emotions that, you were told as a child, you shouldn't be able to feel, you shouldn't be able to express. So let's talk about that. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Can anybody relate to what I just said?
I think it's the same as, it's just something you're used to. It's how you grow up. It's how you were taught to be, and almost shamed if you were anything less than maybe being hard emotionally and hard physically. So it's just kind of something I think that's in most men's DNA. And even especially if you're being raised by women, or men too, but if, people don't want their son crying and being all emotional, but then at the same token, 20 years later, you want me to be an emotional man that understands you as a woman. It's hard to have me both ways when I've been conditioned to be one way. And I think most women don't understand that part about how we've been wired growing up, and then how much undoing that takes. I'm hardcore. I've been, I broke my arm and didn't tell nobody. So now you want me to be sensitive to you, and I don't have that in me.
Thanks. Thank you, Eli. Anybody else? When we talk about how were you raised? Just think about your own experience as a Black man. How were you? And I want to just put this out there. No, this is not saying anything wrong about, your parents that raised you or anything like that, right? But this is reality of things. I think if people knew better, they would have done better, right? This is the reality of things. So, have you had that experience of, not being allowed to really show your emotions, and then when, as a man, really not sure what you're feeling at times? Because sometimes when we talked about depression earlier, in men, depression looks like anger. It doesn't look like it, with women, our depression, it's different. With men, it looks like anger. It's lashing out. You're angry at everything. But people look at you and say, that's an angry Black man. No, this is a brother that is dealing with depression, but this is what it looks like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the house where you could be literally getting your ass whipped and they tell you to stop crying. Like, you cry. And I'm sure everyone's nodding their head saying the same thing. Someone got that at one point in their lives,
Right.
So everybody can relate. What you crying for? You're like, you beat my ass. Like, break your damn face. Ain't nothing to cry about. You're like, you just beat that.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
You already are.
Yeah. That was my dad's favorite line. I give you something to cry for. And I'm like, you've been with my ass for 5 minutes. Like, tell me. But if you cry, if you show emotion, you a punk.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta suck all them tears up and
Right.
not do anything, and then eventually that just becomes your armor against everything. So you
Mhm.
hold everything in, and then they wonder why Black men are keeling over at 55, 60 years old, things like that, from heart attacks and all that. You got all that pent up frustration, between what you grew up with in the house and then getting out in society and dealing with all that crap. It's just it's a lot to hold in every day, and you just want to unleash. And when you do, you may end up beating the living hell out of somebody.
Yeah. That's facts. And then you was also told to go outside and get your own switch. Go pick your own switch out.
The trauma.
Yeah.
That trauma.
My dad walked in the house. My mom complained to him what we did. He would just go upstairs, and he had a bunch of belts, and he had an automatic belt machine in his closet. He would hit the button, and you would hear all the belts spinning around.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what belt am I gonna get today? We was already crying as soon as you heard the machine going. So it was already a wrap. So yeah, and he just pick a belt off like he's picking a sandwich up off the countertop, and then he just come in and proceed to whip somebody's ass.
That's deep. That is deep. Wow. Okay.
He was a great father though, but yeah. I'm West Indian, so you got your ass beat. Everyone, that's universal. That's Black. Especially our age group, you got your ass beat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was what it was.
It was what it was, right? It was what it was.
How that is the acceptable trauma that we all went through. If we did our kids the way our parents did us, we'd all be in jail.
Yeah. They call people.
Yeah, like this acceptable trauma that we look back and laugh about.
Mm-hmm.
But we were getting fucked up, some of us.
Hey, he said it, I didn't.
We were in jail today.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can say that I wasn't a bad child, but when I look back, I don't be like, oh my God, the trauma, the beatings. I'm just like, there were times I ain't listening and I got my ass whooped. So when I look back on my childhood, I don't see the trauma or the abuse. I see the go upstairs and you hanging around, and you go upstairs and you come halfway down. And Mom, I told you to go upstairs. It's like I'm not gonna keep. My mom said, I'm not. God rest her soul. I'm not gonna keep repeating myself.
Right.
So I got it.
Right. Yeah.
So I can say let me ask y'all, and including you, Shay. Was there a time as you grew up or should I say, as you got older, not as you grew up, when you became an adult, and you can look back on your childhood, does anybody remember when they began to undo what you believed was wrong about the way you were raised, or the way, or your traumas? Was it?
Wow.
Did that make any sense?
Ooh, that's a deep. Yeah, that's a
Question.
yeah. Ooh.
Well, see, and while you're thinking about it, I just want to say, like the speaking to what was said, what Lost Child had said about keeping things in. It's like at some point, I think when I was young and raised by a single mother, she's trying to keep me strong. She's trying to make sure I'm not getting my ass beat by other people, while at the same time showing me love and affection. Especially since I had, as you know, I had so many surgeries when I was young. And as I got older, I just kind of figured for some reason I didn't carry that. I couldn't talk to anybody. I could think our family communicates a lot. So there was never really any, men don't cry, shut up, hold everything in. Carl and I being friends, I think as Carl and I became friends in high school into college, I mean, I started pouring stuff out to him. And for me, it was kind of like, let me see if my so-called friends are going to tease me or help me. And I would express some of that stuff to them, and everyone would just kind of get quiet, and then they would kind of share back. And when I was young, I would kind of see among my friends, and of course you can't do it with everybody, but among my friends who became closer friends, you were able to share. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be deep secrets, but just, I'm in college, I'm almost failing out, I'm upset about that. And everyone's like, man, people would help you. They'd be like, it'll be okay. I failed chemistry too, or other people offer assistance as I got older. So I was never really a hold everything in. In fact, my close friends would joke that I'm like a woman because I always express everything.
Okay.
Like, for me, everything comes out because I see how it can destroy people to never talk about something. People kill themselves, and then friends and family are like, "Oh, I didn't know that happened."
Right.
I want everyone around me to know what's happening with me. If I killed myself, you're going to know why. It's never going to be a mystery.
Wow. That's deep. Stan, thank you for sharing that. Guys, is there anybody going to answer Stan's question? I'm still thinking.
I'll just jump on that.
No Stan is a very deep individual, so sometimes you got to process all of that.
It's like if you tell the wrong friends or the wrong people to what's going on with you, all of a sudden you become the bitch ass dude. Like, this emotional,
They were like, this dude, yeah.
Well, yeah, this mom always talking about it, his damn emotions is what's going on. And it makes it hard. It's like you got to be real selective on who you tell your problems to, or somebody will go and run, and next thing you know, it's everybody knows about what's going on. Or someone blasted on social media or something like that. It's a real you really got to walk the razor's edge on who you tell your problems to. And it's sad, but it's reality, because like I said, all of a sudden, this bitch ass, all he talking about, he crying and shit, like, it's crazy. But I mean, you got to really be selective on who you choose to tell your problems to.
That's true. I think to answer Stan's initial question, my bad. Go ahead, Lost Child. Did I cut somebody off? To answer Stan's initial question, I think when I became a parent, because I wanted to do things a little differently than how I was raised. So I think I began to unravel all the things that I dealt with. Like, even I had this mean ass grandma. Like, I couldn't stand her. I mean, I still don't like her. She's been dead 25 years. But wow. As a parent, when I became a parent, I think that's when I started to unravel some of the things that made me not feel so good about myself, about being dark, being poor, So there were things that I dealt with coming up, being called ugly. Back in the '80s, being dark skinned, that was no fun time right there, buddy. So there are a lot of things.
I gotta unmute myself on that one. All we had was Louis Gossett Jr. and everybody else was light skinned. And nobody wanted anyone brown skinned.
It was
That's
rough,
why I hate
man.
LB Shore, Christopher Williams to this day.
Oh my God. Between him and DeBar, it's just like you got nothing.
So no, that's real talk.
We ain't got no light-skinned brothers on here either. That's a shame.
Stan, at the Greek picnic and pen relays, you push all the pretty dudes out to the front. We were lurking behind, like,
and then you pick off the stragglers.
Yeah.
The strays, huh?
Yeah.
That's a damn shame, but that's real talk.
Yep. I ain't saying I ain't saying it's fair. It's just what happened.
Go on, Eli. Eli, finish your point that you said that when you became a parent, that's when you looked at how you were raised and said, I'm not going to do it this way.
Different values. I wanted to just instill different values into my kids, so I knew I needed to make some changes about who I thought I was, who I was made to believe I was growing up, whether it be from my peers or whether it be from family members that didn't have self-awareness or self-love. So I think when I became a parent, man, that's when I began to work on that part of me. And thank God Tyrese and Wesley Snipes came along and made it a little easier.
Shadow having sex on that balcony.
Yep.
That was all of us. That was all brown-skinned guys having sex on that balcony in Mo Better Blues.
Damn right. I was like, tear that shit up. That's right.
This is I'm on mute. Y'all couldn't even hear what I was saying. This is what I'm okay, so I was thinking, Stan, you were saying traumatic. Like I truly have to say, I didn't get beat like that. I didn't get beatings like that. Like my mom would give me this look and she would cut her eyes and I give my sons the same look. And,
we saw it.
You saw it, right? And that's all she had to do. I got smart with mom. I remember getting smart with my mom one time. We was in the store and I talked back before I had a chance to finish that sentence. She backhand slapped me. And I just remember my lips going, like I was trying, they was just numb. And I was like, yo. So I really did not give my mom a hard time.
Not even your teen years?
Nah, like
the puberty when you really.
I'm not gonna lie. I went through some stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I went through some stuff, but some things my mom just didn't know. And so my uncles, I had great uncles. My uncles were amazing. Uncle Art, Uncle Arnold, Uncle Alvin. All three of them played like major roles in my life. So my Uncle Art, which he's the baby. Now I was young. My uncle was a DJ and he would have me in the club. He would have me in the clubs next to him. So I got a chance to experience the club life at a very, very early age, but he dare not let anybody around me. Like anybody came around me, he would just go off. He'd be like, don't you come around my niece. Don't you say nothing to my niece, So he was very, very protective, but like, I wasn't I don't want to say a bad child, but I really was, I didn't give my mom a hard time. I just didn't. Now I got in trouble. I did some things, but I wasn't the one that was getting beat down all the time. So, that's just how it was. But if I say traumatic or anything like that, I can't.
What you now see as the trauma that you described.
Right. What I would now see as trauma as I describe. I would probably have to say it more so maybe just some of the thinking, the beliefs that maybe I saw from family that I realized wasn't healthy, right? And because I grew up in New Jersey and then ended up moving. Now, I will say that whole light skin, dark skin thing was an issue as well, but not so much from family, but just around where I grew up. And you guys saw it with men and I saw it with females, but at the same time, it was never something that always was in my face that made me feel insecure. It was just like, oh, okay, some people prefer light-skinned girls, some people prefer dark-skinned girls or whatever. It is what it is, but it didn't take anything away from me, as to who I was. I would say the one thing that stood out for me was my mom never talked ill or bad about anyone in front of me. She
Grown
just
folks
never did.
business.
She just never said anything, anything bad, whatever challenges that I had growing up between my father and I, who I absolutely, love to death, and we have a great relationship today. But that wasn't always the case growing up, so my mom never talked bad and, to me about my dad at all. And that was something I always appreciated, because I needed to form my own opinion about who my father was to me and what type of relationship we have and what type of relationship we need moving forward. So that made me take those same behaviors and applied it when it came down to my children. No matter what their father and I, which was my ex-husband, what we went through, I've never spoken bad to them about their dad or anything like that, because that wasn't done to me. And I just don't believe doing that. So it's a little bit different. I don't have that traumatizing story to share, but I will say that, just the beliefs and the values, some things that how I looked at things, I see them differently, and then some things that I saw my mother practice, I share and I practice with my own children, so yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. I don't know if there's anybody else want to answer Stan's question.
I'll say Eli brought up a great point, and that's what I was sitting here thinking about when I became a parent. Like in my house, it was the problems got solved with ignorant, blunt honesty and or a belt. So they told you exactly what the hell was wrong. Basically, if you're messing up, stop. It was real blunt. There was no real a hug and say, well, you got to do better. It was like, what the hell are you doing? Stuff like that. The way these kids today aren't really built for that. So I'm not as ignorant as I'm putting it kind of wrong, but I'm not as ignorant as my parents were, or not as blunt, because, I have 2 girls and 2 boys. If I talk the way my parents kind of talk to me, in this case, it boils back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago. If I put it the exactly way my parents said it to me and I said it to them, I tried it here and there. It didn't come out that well. They didn't take it too well. The message of good intent kind of got lost in how I said it. So I kind of had to, my wife would kind of pull me to the side and say, hey, look, you can't come at them like, like the Dungeon Dragon or something like that, because they're going to be like, oh my God, dad is flipping out. Like I said, I'm trying to tell them, look, you're fucking up. This is what needs to be done, but you can't quite say it like that. You got to soften the blow, so to speak. So what my parents did with me, I can't exactly do with my own children. Once again, like I said a while back, you kind of got to walk the razor's edge and see what fits. Like there's sometimes when I flip out regardless and I just yell and scream because no one knows how to push your buttons like your kids. But overall, like I said, what worked for my parents and me is not going to work for me and my kids.
Right. Yeah.
Different breed.
And I think that's the important piece, is how, how those situations and those experiences have shaped you to the person that you are. And now what does that look like for you in your own families, and it goes back to what I said, when you know better, you do better, so we did lose a lost child
We lost Eli too.
And we lost Eli too, so I'm not sure what's going on, but we're going to keep this thing moving on. We are going to keep it going. So, yep. So it's on YouTube now.
And in that you are doomed.
Right. So moving from the healing and the self-love, I wanted to address a little bit, and we talked about it a little bit earlier about trauma, but more so, we are living in a world where there's a lot, of course, the racial trauma that has been going on, that has been happening. Can you guys speak, briefly about how that has affected you? When we talk about racial trauma, of course, I'm speaking about just all of it. It doesn't even have to be just the police situation, but just overall. And this stuff has been going on forever. I think the only difference is now is we have cameras, we have social media. So it's being brought to the masses more so than it was before. So yeah, let me hear from both of you in regards to racial trauma.
Smith?
What was that? I think it was, I don't know, social media. So I think they said Will Smith said the quote, "Racism isn't getting worse, it's just being filmed." It's at this point, I'm sure almost every Black person is just damn near numb. You just turn on the TV, someone else getting shot. It's like everybody's getting shot. Stan and I live in Philly, but it's universal. Everyone's getting shot everywhere. And it's not just the cops, it's shooting Black folks. It's Black folks shooting Black folks every 5 minutes. I mean, I don't know.
Bad guy versus bad guy. I said bad guy versus bad guy. Good guy versus bad guy. You can't tell anybody apart.
But as far as racial, it's like you just turn on the news 1 minute, everyone's like, as soon as dude got found guilty for George Floyd, boom, you had the sister in Ohio that got shot. I mean, it's like a never-ending loop. It's like I said, it's me personally, it's almost numbing, and then, I work with predominantly white people and I go into the job and they're automatically just like, their response is always, well, if such and such had just been calm, they wouldn't have gotten shot. And I'm like,
if only,
right, but you wrong. Like I guess it's literally a Black thing you wouldn't understand, because
it's always if only you didn't move, if only you didn't resist, if only you didn't say anything.
Right.
They're like, the cops, if you just acted calm when the cops pulled you over, you wouldn't get shot. I'm like, yeah, but when you get pulled over by the cops, if people get offended what I'm about to say, that it is what it is. When white people get pulled over by the cop, they're just annoyed. They're ready to cuss the cops out. They're like, this is some bullshit. They're cussing the cops out. I've been here in the passenger seat like this when my white friends were cussing the cops out. I'm like, they're not gonna shoot your ass. They're gonna just pull me out of the car anyway. I'm like, this nigger said it. He's gotta go down. So, like, when you pull over, it's an inconvenience. If I get pulled over, it might be a death sentence. Once again, not fair, but you can't say I'm inaccurate with that.
Right.
That shit is facts. Like, it's worse now than I don't know if is it getting worse. It just seems like Black people are just getting harassed, killed, whatever. It's open season, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. Stan?
For me, in my opinion, it's like what's happening is what we knew all along. It's just that it's just being filmed. It's being filmed more often. So a lot of the flames were fanned when Trump was in office. Anytime the things you say Klan and supposed white supremacist groups agree with, it's never a good thing. They're emboldened, whereas they ran for cover when President Obama was in office. So now there's just, it's the same as it ever was. So everyone Black, we're not really surprised. I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I'd say we're surprised maybe by the frequency or the circumstances, but it's the same as it ever was.
Right. Yeah.
Did anybody
I agree.
did anybody else when the before the verdict was read, did you guys like deep down think like they're gonna find him not guilty?
I didn't watch any of the trial.
I didn't watch much. I didn't watch, not to cut you off, I didn't watch much of the trial, but I was just saying deep down, I was like, deep down, you know I'm ignorant, I'm just like, whatever. But deep down, I was like, he gonna get off.
Right.
He gonna get off. Even though we all know he was guilty of sin. I mean, and the fact that people, like I said, people I know were like, well, he might have died from the drugs in his system. And I'm just like, it was a 200-pound dude kneeling on the guy's neck. What
and
else?
The other officers on the rest of his body.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, even when it's right there and you're looking at it, you're still just like, well, he did something wrong. Like, he's, even the way he died, like it was just something else to blame. Like, you just couldn't put the blame on this guy that just basically murdered him and whatnot. Like that bugged me out. So, and deep down, the way shit always goes, I was just like, he's probably going to get off, even though. So I was surprised by the guilty verdict, but now it's waiting to see what the sentencing is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, even when that happened, it's just, well, what are they going to do to us next? What victim is going to pop up next? You got the guy that was the military guy down in Virginia with the cops. They tased him, dragged him out the car, and gave him all kinds of hell. It's just, what new chaos is going to happen next?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shay. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing with him.
Yeah. I was happy that he was found guilty. The preponderance of evidence, it was like I knew something stupid wasn't going to happen, but like you said, there's always a chance. I think that, well, just me being paranoid, that I think his sentencing may not be as harsh as some people would like. But yeah, I was glad he was found guilty. And unfortunately, the week of his trial, there's already been 2, 3, 4 more other incidents in Ohio and other places. So now we immediately have to move on. We immediately have to move on to these cases and see what's going on with that. Same as it ever was.
Yeah. Like you said, we couldn't even take a breather before something else, had happened. And that actually happened. The shooting of the 16-year-old, that happened a few minutes before the verdict was actually announced. So to answer your question, Carl, I actually, that day, it was crazy because that day I was so busy in with my patients. I had back-to-back clients. So I didn't even know the verdict was in until later, like around 7 something at night. A friend of mine was just like, hey, how do you feel about the verdict? And I'm like, what verdict, And then I got a chance to watch it back on YouTube. But even knowing what the verdict was, even me, with me watching the replay, I found myself holding my breath because knowing that it wasn't going to change on YouTube because it was, it was recorded, but
you never know.
It was a thing where I was just sitting there holding my breath, like, oh, because listen, I mean, come on, how many times have we heard not guilty, right? And it triggered us, and it brings up all kind of trauma, brings up everything, right? Welcome back, Eli. Welcome back. We talk about racial trauma.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's some guy named Edward.
It's true.
That's the government, dog. That's the government
name.
Like, don't worry about what I be doing.
Right. It triggers us, right? So, I'm glad that we got a guilty verdict. I don't think he's going to get the full 75 years. So I'm just holding my breath for that. We still have a long ways. This is not something where I feel like, oh, finally they're changing or things is going to be different.
Oh yeah.
Now
Ain't
we
nothing
still got a long ways to go with it.
Mhm.
So yeah. So thank you. I just wanted to kind of get some feedback on the racial trauma and see how you guys dealt with it and what you were feeling like. I mean, I the one question I haven't asked you guys, I mean, you know, you driving while black and being a man, you know, what is when you see, you know, police around you or something's going on, is that triggering for you? How are you feeling? Or
Hell yeah. Everybody, when you're driving, mind your own business, and a cop just gets behind you, you start thinking of every crime you ever committed, jaywalking, all kinds of shit. You turn into the best driver on the planet. You turn into the driver manual. You're 9 and 3 trying to you sit there like this. You start smiling and shit, trying to look all pleasant and whatnot. Because nobody wants to get pulled over. Because you get pulled over, you might die.
It could be a death sentence.
Yep.
facts.
I got a good a recent police story. Thankfully, it ended positively. I was up in the Northeast trying to get my COVID test, and I should have used my own sense of direction, but I was following my GPS, and it put me on a road. And when it said make a left, I mean, it said make a right, and when I went right, the road was closed. So I had to continue straight, and before I knew it, the road took me over the Tacony Palmyra Bridge. So I went over the bridge into Jersey. I know this kind of thing can only happen to me. So I go over the bridge, and then I make you know, the necessary lefts in order to get ready to get back on the bridge, and I pull over like I'm about maybe 1,000 yards from the toll. So I pull over just so I can get my money out. I'm in Jersey. I didn't know, you know, I'm trying to get myself together. And then I look, and then a New Jersey police SUV pulls on the other side of the road. So I was like, oh shit, maybe not fuck up. So I roll the window down, and I have a $20 bill and my phone in my hand. And we both have on masks, so that takes away some of the humanity in our faces. So I looked at him, and I'm like, I hold up the 20, and I'm like, I'm getting my money ready. I'm getting ready to go. I'm pointing. I'm like, I'm getting ready to go over the bridge, and I'm just trying to get my toll money right. So he's like, oh, okay. And then well, since I'm a talkative person anyway, we like talk just for a second. I tell him I came over the bridge because of my GPS. Now I'm just turning around. I'm getting ready to go back. So he was like, all right, cool. And I think I said something like have a safe day. And then he said something like, we all need it. And I was like, what do you mean? And then for the next 10 minutes, me and this police officer are talking about COVID. We're talking about COVID, him working out with his son, him getting vaccinated. This was before I had my vax. He talked about the side effects and everything. In fact, we were talking so long, another car came, and then he had to leave. So we were like, hey, see you later. So we ended up
Only you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm about to say only you.
Only you. I wonder what gal number the rest.
So at least I have I have a positive story, but
absolutely.
But to your question, especially recently, with the events that have been happening in the past 5 years, you know, any traffic stop can be the death of you. So you have to go through all your procedures. You have to go. You have to do all the things that white people say. Only if he didn't say anything, if he didn't resist, if he didn't. You go through all that. You keep your hands in sight. You're like, hey, officer, why they get stopped? You go ahead. You take the ticket, and you just survive. And you survive. anything you have to say, you do that shit in court. You don't argue with the officer. It's just
get home safe.
Yeah,
Get home safe. Yeah.
The same old thing. The same old thing.
Yeah.
The same old thing that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to switch the temperature a little bit in the room. I know we've been talking about some deep stuff.
Wait. What are you switching?
I'm going to switch the temperature.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to see you do that again.
Carl, get him, Carl. Switching the temperature. So, let's talk about breaking the cycles of bad habits. We've seen some bad habits, coming up, and breaking the cycle of it. Those those habits that we grew up with, being able to, not bring it into our own space, and definitely not our own children. Has there been anything you guys came up with and you're just like, no, I can't take this into my adulthood?
I can speak to just coming from where I come from, just having that woe is me mentality and the world owes me something, and because of the white man, and there's and don't get it twisted. There are some things that have held us back in the past. But I do think that if we stay in that mindset, it's always generational. If we stay in that mindset, then you will become that, and your children will too. So I think we have to get out and figure out that there's a better way. There's another way. We don't have to stay stuck. And I think a lot of people in our community, some people in our community, they kind of sit back and rest on that, how we've been done wrong, and Lord knows we have. How we've been mistreated, how, from redlining to Jim Crow to whatever. But at some point, you have to kind of pull yourself on up and do what you got to do. Nobody's going to give you anything. Nobody. No matter, Biden, Biden, we got the stimulus, but after that, now what?
Right.
Exactly. I'll take it. And I'll take another one if he can do it too. But that's where the giving ends. The rest is going to be kind of up to you. You got to figure it out. And if you don't have people in your family that have been successful at anything, then you have to align yourself with friends, people in the community who have been. We all know somebody who's done some great things, but we know more people who have done nothing than we do people who have done great things. But we choose to align ourselves with that other element all the time, and instead of kind of running over here. Like, I don't know. That's a mindset I think we have to get out of in our community.
All right.
Piggybacking off of Eli's point, it's like there's in fact, I had this conversation a little earlier today. There's much improvement. There's a lot of improvement, and there's a lot that we can do before we get slapped down by the white man. We have to put forth maximum effort. We can't not, at this bad English, we can't not try just because of what we think white people are going to do to us.
Right.
Put forth maximum effort, do everything you can, fail, make changes, and come back even stronger. Then if you run into some kind of wall, some kind of obstacle, some kind of arch villain, at least you know that you've done everything. And this is what's stopping you. It's not, oh man, well, you know how it is.
The band is keeping it.
Right.
Exactly. Make it so that you've done everything that you can. And now you may need help from someone that may have more experience or something, but do all you can. Don't like Eli said, don't stop yourself. And that's what a lot of us, including me, that's what a lot of us do. We will pull up on ourselves like, oh, I'm not quite sure. Bad habits.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. All right, guys. So let's get into some relationship talk. Because I know that's what everybody want to hear.
I ain't got no woman.
Before we get what?
Hey, Carl.
What
That's a
happened?
serious bar you got back there, brother. Yeah,
Huh? Oh yeah, man. You know,
that thing is serious.
Carl don't play.
I
it's
think
fully
I'm doing
stocked.
some of my little 6 bottles.
He don't play. He don't play.
Yo, the door's open.
Oh man,
The door's open and the bar's open, bro.
I heard that.
Well, let's
Wow.
get into some relationship talk, guys, because I know we have some people out there that's listening. They want to hear about y'all thoughts in regards to relationship. Before we get started on that, just want to send a shout out to Eileen Williams that's watching. Want to shout out to Joseph Zumat that's watching. Also want to shout out to Adwin Williams that is watching. And thank you for tuning into the Rebirth. Okay, we're going to keep it moving. Let's talk about love languages. Are you guys familiar with love languages? Do you know what they are?
Nope.
Yeah.
Do you know the 5 love languages, Carl Smith? Where's Stan go? Come on, Stan.
They're making a drink.
He said he's jumping, he's leaving this conversation. Okay, so there's 5 love languages, right? And the love languages is supposed to pretty much help you be able to communicate within your relationships on how you receive love. So there's 5 of them. Acts of service is 1, physical touch, words of affirmation, gifting, and quality time is the 5th one. Hearing those, what do you identify as being what your love language is?
Being as the first time I'm kind of hearing about this, I'm laughing, but I'm almost like, say them over again.
Sure, I
say I do a little bit all of the
a
above.
little bit all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a little bit all of the above.
And you know what? That I think that's fair. I think we all probably, well, I'm not gonna say all, not everybody, but I can say that as well. I think I have a little bit of all of them, but if I had to pick what my strongest ones were, it would be physical touch and quality time.
Yeah.
Right. So basically what the love languages do is you always hear the thing, what men are from Mars, women are from Venus and stuff like that. So a person can say, well, they don't show me love, or I don't feel loved, right? But your way of feeling loved may not be the same way that that person shows love. So if I'm a person that requires physical touch and quality time as my love language, right? And you're a person that shows love by acts of service or by gifting, then our communication is not connecting. Because you're saying, well, I'm doing all these things, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. How can you not feel love? And I'm saying, you're not touching me enough, or you're spending time with me enough. So we're missing in communication. So this is why the 5 love languages are important. So Eli, what will be, wait a minute. No, I'm not, Carl. Now understanding and hearing this, what would be your strongest?
See, my wife's behind me. I'm about to ask her.
Come on, Jay. You can ask her. Bring her on.
No, she ain't getting no camera. Babe, what's my strongest love language?
The D. Sorry.
You didn't quite hear him on either. She's like,
Yeah, I didn't say them again.
So, what's up, Queen? So it's act of service.
Get your ass back in the kitchen.
Come on, come back there.
Act of service, quality time, physical touch, gifting, and words of affirmation.
He does them all, truthfully.
Oh Lord Jesus.
He is a pimp.
Boy.
What's the strongest one, Dave? Come on, what is the strongest one?
His strongest.
And gifting.
Gifting? Okay.
He's touching.
Touch it. I bet he is.
No, I will say, and I guess it's gonna sound concede what I don't know. I don't give a shit. But I think I'm a real good listener because she'll say something like, "We'll be somewhere," and she'll be, "Damn, that joint is nice," or something like that. And I'm just like, okay. And then the next whatever comes up, Mother's Day, holiday, or no reason at all, a week later, I'll go back and get it because she says she liked it or something like that, and pop back up with it and be like, leave it on a pillow or something like that. Like,
Aw.
you said you liked it or something like that.
Very true.
Oh, that is
Well,
so sweet.
Yeah, so I do stuff like that because I think that's cool because that's the kind of shit I like to happen to me. I'll be like, hey, that watch is nice as shit or something like that.
He throwing a hit out there because she listening, y'all.
Yeah, that watch is nice as hell. And then, a couple weeks later, it pops up. Right?
You're
like, in my size, in rose gold.
That is hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay, thank you. Tell wifey I said thank you for sharing that. Eli, what is your love language, Eli?
I think probably acts of service and physical touch. I'm touchy-feely like a motherfucker. So definitely, and I do a lot around the house to make sure things are right. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think that's probably my strength. Words of affirmation too, but I think if I had to pick two off the top, it would be those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Stan the man. What is your love language, love?
What was the middle thing?
Words of affirmation.
No, okay. This is my love language, like what I want from a woman.
No, how you show love. How do you show love? Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. What is it? It's words of affirmation.
It's weed.
Acts of service. What did Carl say?
Oh my God.
What did he say? Administering D.
Don't listen to him.
What did he say? What did he say?
He said
weed.
He said weed.
I can't smoke. Okay,
I can't take it with y'all. Personal touch.
I think mine is personal touch. Like Eli said, you always want to show your woman that you find her attractive. When she walks by, you're smacking her in the butt. She's doing dishes or coming up behind her. It's like you always want to show that you're there. And I think physical touch and I think words of affirmation. Okay. All right. Good. You always want to communicate because one of the things that seems to drop off is the communication. So you always want to try to keep it how it was in the beginning, in some way. Okay. All right.
What are yours, Shay?
Yeah. Excuse me.
What are yours?
Oh, I said mine. I said mine is personal touch and quality time. But you know what? I would have to say words of affirmation as well. I'm always affirming the heck out of somebody. So, but I would say those are my two strong. I am a touchy-feely person.
Say.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And then he ran off.
Right. Okay, so we're going to move on. Let's talk about commitment issues.
Hold on, it's staying in an old school diner. I'm looking at that door. Does it swing both ways?
I don't know what that is.
I know, right? You in Mel's Diner right now or something?
Yeah, Mel's Diner.
I'm about to say, this is my home.
This is my home. You're making crack right. You look like you're stirring up crack right now.
With a knife. I'm done. Oh man. Okay, we're gonna move into
who wants an old fashioned?
We're gonna go back to the relationships. Okay, guys, when should a man settle down, in your opinion? And don't you say never, Carl Smith.
I'm the biggest hypocrite because I was always the one that yelling out, I'm never getting married. I don't know any happily married people. The hell with that. I'm not doing it. And bam. But I'd say it's almost an individual decision. I can't make a blanket statement say by age something such and such somebody should be married. It's kind of, it's like I said, it's up to each person when they get married. If you find that person that you can't picture yourself living without, then no matter what age it is, then settle down and do your thing with them and see how it works out. But I'm not gonna sit there and say every person needs to get married or even be in a long-term relationship. It all depends on the circumstances of that person's life. For me, like I said, I never planned to get married. I just met the right person, we clicked, and it kind of, everything just kind of went from there. So I can't put a blanket statement, just say such should get married. If you meet the right person, like I said before, and you can't see yourself without that person, then put it on lock.
Okay. All right, Eli.
I say that, Carl, they all seem like the right person in the beginning. That grass be real green in the beginning. And then you find out it's got little patches, little brown stains in it. Then you be like, oh, okay, this ain't what I thought it was. However, I'm going to say no man, I don't think any guy should get married before they're 30 at least. I think you need to ride out to the 20s. I think that's the time where you figure out who you are and figure out what you want and what you need. I think in your 20s, you're all over the place. You're trying to figure out career. You're trying to navigate this world of just being a young Black man. I think to have a really deep, heavy relationship or marriage, that age that adds extended pressure on you. So I would say not before 30. If I had to, I waited till I was 31. So I think most young dudes should ride out their 20s, man. That woman you met that you figure you can't see yourself living without, there's a couple more gonna come along, I promise you. They'll come along. And if that one you met is meant to be, it'll be there when it's time for you to, once you learn who you are and what you need and what you can offer somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So ride it out.
Nice.
Ride it
out. Stan, any comments?
Now, Shay, when you say settle down, you mean settle down what? You mean settle down in a relationship or settle down in marriage?
No more orgies.
So I'm going to say because of where we are in age, we are more of the mature crowd that we're right now. But yeah, I'm going to say marriage. When
settle down to marriage. I guess I
just settle down.
I'll agree with Carl and Eli at the same time that your 20s for a lot of men, your 20s are a time for you to figure things out and for you to build and to develop yourself into a better version of yourself. But of course, we're all different. We're all living different lives. So if you happen to meet someone that you believe that is the one and you're 27, I'm not going to say, oh, don't get married before 30 and then you might lose her. At the same time, I do agree with Eli saying, use your 20s. When we were, now I'm not making any sense anymore. When as you move from 28, 29, like, we're older, like you said. So when you're 27, 28, 30, it seems like it's a milestone. 30 is like, oh my God, I'm not going to be 20 something anymore. So I could agree with that. That's around the time when 20-year-olds start saying, I'm not going to be 20. I'm going to start being 30. I'm going to start being old. I got to start being responsible. I got to start thinking things differently. So I think that's also a good time to maybe settle down. Another thing that young people don't realize that barring the apocalypse or something tragic happening, that life is long. If you got married at 25, and you were married for 10 years and now you're 35 and you've grown and your wife has grown and you got like an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or something. If you happen to get, religious people, if you happen to get divorced, it's not the end of the world. Both of you, you're only 35, 36, and you both have a lot of life to live. So don't be like,
Yes.
and I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm not the, I'm not religious, I'm just spiritual. But if things go wrong, it's like there's still a lot of life to live.
Yes.
If you got married and it didn't work, all right, you're 38. Okay, continue on with the rest of your life, and that this person was good from when you were 23 until you were 33.
You better speak.
And now things have gone wrong. You've got children. Raise your children, and now continue on the third era, the second or the third era of your life.
The choir.
I have spoken.
The choir of one.
Yes, Stan. Yes. Thank you for that. Amen. Won't he do it? Won't he will. This is what you're supposed to say. Won't he will.
I'm sorry. I ain't been to church.
No, that's all Dion Cole. That's Dion Cole stand up.
Oh, I didn't see it. Oh man.
Yeah, facts, man. Seriously though, that was perfectly said, and y'all, it spoke to my soul and my spirit.
I know it seemed to hit a little home.
It did. It hit home. So I'm going to answer that question from a woman's perspective. Okay. When should a man or woman settle down? I'm going to throw the woman in there as well. And I'm speaking about marriage. You should settle down when you are able to, if marriage is what is the goal, and that's the goal that you want. And we've talked about this before. Eli, you and I have talked about this on the Relationship Killer show that we did.
Right.
If marriage is the goal, then before marriage, before you even meet that person, you need to start walking as a husband, walking as a wife, conducting yourself as a husband, conducting yourself as a wife ahead of time.
Oh, I got a lot to say about
this.
You
have to prepare yourself for the person that you want to enter into your life. And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of people wait until they get down the aisle to the vows when they say, I do, to now jump into husband mode or wife mode. If you was cheating before your vows, you are going to be cheating after your vows. The vows do not change the behavior. You know what I'm saying? So for me, when it's time to settle down is when you're able to conduct yourself as a husband, as a wife, before even taking those vows.
I've had sorry to jump in again. I've had conversations with Carl where I've said, like, as we've aged and like as we've moved from late 20s, early 30s, a lot of our friends and family start getting married. I found that a lot of people, like every monogamous relationship that you were in should be like a mini marriage as practice to be married. And a lot of people cheated in every relationship. And then all of a sudden, if you cheated in every relationship you've had, how can you suddenly get married and then cut everything off?
That shit don't work.
You've never mentally managed a relationship. It's like as soon as your girlfriend starts acting crazy, you go bone somebody else. Yep. Like it's the I don't chase them, I replace them kind of mentality. And then when you get married, it's like, okay, now all of a sudden at 37, you have to not have sex with anyone else again when you haven't been your entire young adult life.
Right. Yeah.
But Stan, you know what, man? When you put it into perspective, when you say it like that, you've been out here eating from the buffet table your whole life. And all of a sudden you got the same meal every day. It's chicken. It's prepared differently, but it's the same chicken. It's baked. Sometimes it's boiled. Sometimes it's fried. But it's still chicken.
It's still chicken.
That is an adjustment, man. I think most men, we don't take that into a consideration. You know what I mean? I think that we meet somebody, and depending on how old we are, we panic. Oh, well, I ain't trying to be out here by myself. I don't want to be the old dude at the club, You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes men make rash decisions based upon those factors right there.
That could also be true. I think.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I think, yeah, it's just I think sometimes we just jump into stuff just to say that we have this going on. And I think women do that too. So I think women do it a lot more than men.
I think women do it a lot more than men, because the goal of course, my disclaimer, not all, but the goal of most women is to be married. And
right.
I mean, all three of us, we all have women in our lives that I'm sure if we had asked them to half-ass marry us, they probably would have did it. When you think back to your old relationships, there's a lot of women that if you known them for like under 6 months to a year, if you propose, that woman probably would have said yes, because she's like, you know what, this is my chance to be married.
Yeah.
Whether the man is ready or not.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And to your point, on the other side, that there may be men who may be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I in fact, I think a lot of, just talking out my neck here, I think a lot of NBA players, or should I say athletes, a lot of athletes that end up getting married, I think they say that. They're like, you know what, she's been holding me down all this time, let me get married. Even though they may not be ready to give up, stop sowing the royal oats, but they're like, look, let me get married so I have a wife and kids.
If I was an athlete, I would never get married until I retired.
Ever.
Carl always said that, and that always made sense.
Yep.
It does make
an athlete, I would never get married until I freaking retired. It's just, nah. Nope, I ain't that strong.
If I was just a rich regular dude, I wouldn't get married.
What'd you say? He what?
A rich regular guy. I just had money, but I nobody, why would I do that?
It's like, why marry a woman and then cheat on her? Not come home at night.
Jumping on what everybody was kind of talking about earlier, and as usual, I'm just speaking for me, but one blanket statement I will make that I think makes sense from my perspective. I think if you're in a relationship with a significant other, y'all should live together for a good couple years before y'all tie the knot. Because then you get to, you can kind of, the bullshit will work itself out I think in most cases before you tie the knot and it gets official. You really get to see, I think D.L. Hughley said it, you really get to see the crust of an MFer when you marry them. You get to see them at their best and worst when you're with them 24/7. And like I said, the bullshit can kind of work itself out.
Or not, and you realize that's not the one.
Yeah. Yeah. You can wake up one day and be like, I got to get the hell out of here.
I got to get out of here.
You realize, yeah, she's not the one for me, or I'm not the one for her. I'm not built for this. I got to get the hell out.
Right. So I want to move to the next question, guys. Do you think there should be privacy in marriages? So this question came up. I was watching, I don't know if you guys watch Ready to Love. Yes, I was watching Ready to Love. It comes on the OWN show, and nephew Tommy is the host of it. And one of the guys on there was talking to this chick, and he feels that in marriage there should be no privacy, that he wants the passcode, he wants access to all social media accounts, and he would do the same, so what is your thoughts about that?
I'm gonna let Carl handle this one.
Why she standing behind me with a knife?
Mr. Smith?
Nah, I mean, that once again, razor's edge, but my wife, hey, if something happens and her phone's not around, I just throw her my phone, hey, call such and such for me, and I'm gonna go downstairs and do whatever. What's the definition of privacy? Like, what are you trying to hide from them? We're around each other all the time. I go through her phone if I need to do something. I'm not looking, I ain't going through her text like, what nigga is this? I'm not doing all that. Like if
Uh-huh.
I don't know, like that's kind of a weird area. Like the whole privacy thing. Like I don't know. I'm not even sure how to answer that. Like I don't go through my wife's phone or anything like that. If I want to do something, I can do it, but I'm still going to tell her it's transparency. I'm just going to tell her what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be. I'm not like what aspect,
So,
what needs to be privately hidden from your significant other. I'm not even sure.
Okay, so you're on the same page as what the guy was saying. Because
yeah, but I'm not demanding like I don't want passwords and all that stuff. It's not that.
Okay. All right. But you do feel that you should be able to pick up her phone without an issue, right? Because one of the triggers, I'm gonna tell you, so
we do it all the time.
One of the triggers, one of the things that I noticed, and maybe this is from my trauma.
I'll drink to that.
One of my triggers is when someone take their phone and then they put it upside down. They put it downward. It's like you're trying to hide. Like, why is your phone upside down? Why can't you keep it turned up? What do you, it's almost like, now I had to get past all of that. That was a strong trigger for me. And then I start doing it.
Player.
I'm doing it right.
When you point a finger, there's 3, 4 pointing back at you.
I start doing it afterwards, like, in my singleism, I start flipping my phone. Because
Shay got like 2 burner phones and shit.
I do not have no burner phones. But anyway, this ain't about me.
Just leave that phone in the restaurant. When the waiter come by, just be like, yeah, just put that shit on there. Let the waiter take it.
But so Eli, what's your take on this?
I don't require all of that access. I mean, and she has a code, I have a code. But if you need to use my phone, you can use my phone. But I don't require all that access. I think if an adult is hell bent on doing something, they'll figure it out. People, it's other ways to do stuff without going through phone and social media. So I can't stress about. There's too many other 1 million things I have to worry about than to worry about what's going on in your phone.
Right.
So I can't concern myself with that.
Okay.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Shit.
All right. Thank you.
The reason why I threw it over to Carl when you originally asked it is because Carl and I had a conversation in the past where we said that with the rise of social media, if you look at your girl or your wife's phone or social media, if you dig for trouble, you're gonna find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If you dig into your woman's stuff, all you're going to find is the 173 guys that all want to have sex with her. If you look on her social media, all you're going to see is it's what a woman goes through daily. Mm-hmm. That everyone's flirting with you. Everyone is offering D. So if you go through her phone and start scrolling through text messages and scrolling, you want to see her Facebook, you want to see her Instagram, you want to see who's liking her photos. Who do you think is liking her photos? A dude from Arkansas and Dubai who want to have sex with your woman. So did you
say Arkansas? That's where you're from, Eli.
I know, not me though, not me.
Damn, he putting you on blast and shit.
I was about to say shots fired. So there has to be some level of trust. There has to be, I'd say, a respect and a privacy to it. Now, talking about Shay's thing, it used to be when I went out, I would turn my phone down because if someone calls or texts, I don't want the name to come up and distract me from being in the moment. So I used to turn my phone down, not to hide, but just to say, hey, I'm out, I'm having drinks. I don't want to hear my sister texting me about this and that and the other thing. What was the other point? I was gonna say.
Okay. I know
My
you
mind is
your
so
third drink, so
I'm on my second old fashioned and my mind is cloudy.
well,
But
I want to, because you mentioned social media. I want
oh wait,
to.
I got it.
Oh,
I
go
got
ahead.
it now. Sorry. Let me finish this last point, and then myself. If my woman ever wants to see my phone, I'll tell her. I'm like, look, I'm a photographer. I got texts. I got photos I love. I've got butts. I've got breasts. I've got crazy stuff. So you are free to look through it, but I don't want to hear anything that you have to say about it. I'm telling you what's in it already. There's nothing in there that you are going to find solace in. So if you want to look through it, yeah, you can.
Right. Okay. So you had mentioned about the effects of social media in one of your answers. And I think that social media has a really big effect on relationships, especially if you're a person that's constantly on social media. I recently saw this post where the guy, he was on the left side of the video, and he was showing women with butts on the other side. And he was just basically saying that social media pretty much ruined everything when it comes down to butt, because it was like, you see it all the time. So it's not even, something exciting anymore. What, do you feel that social media does have effect on relationships? And if so, in what way?
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
Okay. Jump in.
It depends on the person. Are they going to broadcast everything about their relationship on social media?
Mm-hmm.
So you always see that person, or that's something where it can kind of affect it and whatnot. I'm gonna leave it at that because I got a spill happening right now. Right back.
What the heck?
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in?
Eli?
Could you repeat it?
Do you feel that social media has an effect on relationships, and if so, in what way?
I do, if you guys are secure within who you are as individuals and as a couple. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking, if you follow somebody on Instagram who's a porn star, and your wife happens, or your girlfriend happens to walk behind you and sees you looking at this big booty girl who Cherokee ass, for example, I follow her. So if that person,
do you
if
now?
the person you're with is insecure about herself or your relationship, then that will be a problem. So it depends. If you guys are secure within yourself, with each other, with who you are, then yeah, it can work. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Piggybacking off of Eli, social. I can't imagine what it would be like to be 18 to 25, 18 to 27 now in social media, because privacy has opened up, and we have access to a lot that we didn't at one time. I'm sure the younger generation, though weak in a lot of other ways compared to ours, they are much stronger and much more resilient in their privacy, because like I've once again, I've had these conversations with Carl. I've said that you go on social media and there are girls that aren't models, and regular students and everyday people, good people, but there are girls that I have seen what their entire body looks like already, and I don't even know them. And if I run into, and so then I've already seen what your breasts and butt look like from you posting, my Miami, Cancun photos,
right,
you twerking, but then at the same time, I have to act like I haven't already seen you naked if I happen to meet you at a party or at a meetup or something. So it's a whole different era. And in terms of relationships, social media, as I mentioned before, social media is a relationship destroyer, because if you dig, you're going to see what you, as a man to a woman, if you dig, or I guess and a woman as a man, from men looking in their women's phone, sorry, let me be clear, and from a woman looking in their man's phone, you are going to see that which you shouldn't, because it's going to create insecurity when you're not only, like Eli said, when you're not only looking at Cherokee, but you're looking at some girl from Atlanta, some girl from Kentucky, some girl from Jersey. They aren't necessarily, you're not necessarily looking at celebrities to whom you'll never see, but you're looking at a girl in West Philly who has an ass like Cherokee, who's showing off her Fashion Nova outfit that you could probably get to.
Right.
And then your wife is going to be like, why are you looking at this bitch? And you're going to be like, yeah.
What happened was,
why are you liking her photos?
Yeah. I'm done with Stan. Love it. You make a great point. Absolutely. Absolutely. You make a great point. And I do think that it does cause issues. It does cause issues. But like I said before, when we were talking about conducting yourself, if you are, in a marriage, or you have someone that's special and you don't want to lose that person, then these are things that, can cause you to lose them, So we're wrapping up. There's a couple more questions that I have for you guys. One of them is, I want to know, what do you guys desire? What do men desire? What do you desire in a woman in a relationship? What do you desire?
I'll keep it real simple.
Oh, Lord Jesus. I don't even know if I want you to answer.
Eli's going to say what I think he's going to say.
I'm about to tell you, this is what all men desire, I believe.
Oh, Lord.
Support, pussy.
Hey, Eli.
Sorry.
I didn't hear that.
Don't let him repeat it. No.
He said support and
sex.
Peace, support, sex. What more does a man need?
To add on to Eli, I'll say something that's even more important in the social media era, which is peace.
Yeah. I mean, we're simple creatures in the end.
I was like, yeah.
We're barbaric. Yeah. We don't require a lot.
Yeah. Some ass, a good meal, and support and shit.
Support and shut up.
Wait, but hold up. Because so I'm going to rebuttal on this, because you may have a wife that does all of that, right? I'm just saying that does all of that. Meal, support, sex, when you want it, and all of that. And the dude will still go out and sow his royal oats.
Oh, that's a whole other show.
You know what I'm saying? That is a whole nother.
I was gonna say,
that's a whole other show.
It is. So I don't want to say that's a blanket statement that's what every man, because no, you still have people that they do all of these things, and then their husband will still go out and do stuff.
Oh yeah. I'll give you a quick answer on that. Availability. That's my quick answer on what you just said, Shay. That's my
availability.
That's the real quick answer.
Okay.
Availability.
And
I know what that means.
Piggybacking off of Carl's point, what I said earlier, that you can't be monogamous if you've never practiced monogamy. If you've always, like the average man, and like I said, the average man is going to have sex if they have the opportunity to do so. So if you've never been monogamous in any of your relationships, now that you're married, right? If the young girl at your job, or the girl you meet in the bar, or the girl you see on the street, if you have the opportunity, you're always going to take it. Unless you, unless you say, you know what, I'm not going to eat steak. I'm going to go back home to the chicken I got.
Wow.
Maybe it'll be stir fried chicken tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be on a stick tonight, huh?
Shit, kebab.
Wow, that's deep, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. If you haven't been practicing monogamy, it's not just going to all of a sudden appear after you take vows. It's just not gonna work that way.
And that's why men who seem to have everything continue to step out, because like Carl said, you have the option to, you have the ability to, and you have the desire to.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. So my last two questions, guys, and we're gonna wrap up because we're definitely gonna come back and talk more on that, because I think that definitely deserves more attention. Should your Eli, we talked about this. So a real quick answer from you guys. Should your mate be your best friend?
She can be.
I say that's hard. I don't know how she can be. I don't, as much as they like to say it, you can't be my best friend. And that's my short answer. I can't, certain things I tell my boy, I can't share with you. It's just because we are built different. You receive it differently. You're gonna judge me differently. So no, you can't be my best friend. You're gonna be my friend because I'm married. You can't be my best friend.
Okay. Carl?
I'm going to say yes and no. Your boys, some of your boys are your best. Man, she got a fat ass. You can't go to your wife. Hey, look at that. There's certain things you talk about with your best friends that you can't talk about with your wife. Maybe that's the privacy thing that you was touching on earlier. But you can't do dude stuff and have dude conversations with your wife all the time, because she's gonna be looking at you like, what is this damn caveman talking about? But in a lot of other aspects, of course, she's your best friend. You're with her all the time. You love each other to death. So in many aspects, yes, but in certain aspects, no.
Right.
That's the quick answer.
Okay. And I just want to let you guys know, we women already see the fatty coming down before y'all even see it.
Oh yeah. And this time my wife pointed out and be like, look at this right here. And I'll be like,
it's coming. We just gonna look at you to see if you gonna look.
No, you gotta look, but you can't break your neck.
So we already
right. You gotta move your eyes, not your head.
Or we'll look at you and be like, that's so nasty. That's horrible. Look at that. Why is she wearing that? But inside, you're like, there you go.
You be like, shit.
I'll always bring it up.
Already see it.
I'll always bring up the outfit. I'll be like, you like those shoes? What do you think about that? And then she's like, and I'm like, damn. And then be like, yeah, I don't know if she should have worn that.
You do misdirection.
You guys are crazy. Okay, guys, we are at our last question for the night. And I mean, it's been a long show, but it was so much to cover. And I definitely want to do this again. So this question is all about you guys. How important is brotherhood amongst Black men to you?
It's everything.
Yeah. It has to be everything.
Yeah. I mean, without the friends that I consider my brothers and my family, I might not be here. I might not have been here. There are times, and I'm sure every Black male looking at this probably feels the same way. Everyone's got their circle that you can literally come to, the guys that you don't even have to talk to all the time. It may be someone you haven't talked to in 6 months, but you can pick up the phone. Hey, what's up? You need me? I'm there. Like, everybody needs that. Brotherhood is everything. That's the best I can say. It's everything.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. I concur. And you know what? When you have a really tight friend, I have a friend that I've grown up with since we were 4 or 5. And I came from Arkansas. He came from Arkansas. Like, he's here now too. So when I think about how far we've come, like, when I mean we came from the mud together, literally, like, it's like an emotional thing. Like, that's my dude. And I know he feels the same way. And that's my sounding board. That's the person who pulls me up on my bullshit and vice versa. I mean, if you don't have that in your life, then there's something wrong with you. I always talk to people around here that are from like Delaware, for example, and I'm like, well, who's your homie? Who's your best friend? They was like, well, I don't really have one. But you born and raised here. You know, how are you born and raised in a place and you don't have a best friend? Somebody you grew up with. To me, you weird than me if you don't have a best friend. Who doesn't have a best friend?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's weird to me. If you lived in the same place your whole life and you don't have a best friend, that's a red flag to me about you.
Mm.
I can see that too.
Okay. Stan?
Yeah, I mean, having, you know, when we're young, our boys are everything because, you know, you're young and you need the wolf pack. As you begin to get older and carve out a life for yourself that might be different than where some of your friends are going, it's always important to have if you to have friends and or family, some kind of support system that you can talk to, that like we mentioned earlier, that you have to talk to somebody. As a Black man in America, as a human being, the trials and tribulations that you go through, you have to be able to talk about them and to get and to give help.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have somebody. The people that we see on the news that flip out are the people that didn't have anyone to talk to.
Mm. True.
You're right. You're
True.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It has been a honor and pleasure to sit down with you amazing kings. And I know, Stan, you told me earlier, don't refer to you as king, but
I'm no king.
Out of respect. I respect my Black brothers. I have a lot of respect for you all. And I do appreciate you all taking time to just sit with me. I wish we could all be in one spot. And just having this fellowship tonight, I know we gotta get together more. You know, we'll bring our mask and all of that, you know, but like I miss y'all. Y'all my brother.
I'm vaccinated. I'm invincible.
I was gonna say I'm vaccinated too.
Yo, live from the backyard. What's up?
Right. Live from the backyard.
Live from the backyard. Let's go.
Just bring your mosquito spray because my mosquitoes are back here.
I got that Johnson & Johnson vampire vaccine, so I've been ready.
You keep you got that Johnson. You keep your mask on, Stan.
I will become more powerful than you could ever imagine. More powerful than your Moderna.
Oh, my goodness. But I just want to say, guys, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your knowledge, for your information, for your humor, for your transparency, all of that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight. Thank you, everyone that has tuned in to the Rebirth. I just want to also put it out there again. May 9th is the launch of the 12-step course that I have created, How to Start Over After Life Crisis. I'm so excited. People have been signing up. So if you are interested in taking a course, make sure you reach out to me at info@rebirthu.com. You can also go to my website, rebirthu.com, and find out more information, or you can DM me. But again, make sure the DMs are about the
and that.
Hey, girl.
Make sure they are about the course. Any last minute comments, guys, from anyone?
Hey man, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure chatting up with you, brothers. As always, I definitely look forward to seeing y'all in person, man.
Yes, everybody out there, peace. And y'all, let's get together soon, please, in person.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for creating this discussion that we take part in.
Invite.
Yeah.
We haven't seen each other since before the apocalypse, and I mean, hey, that's what I call it. It's the apocalypse, and during the apocalypse, you can follow me at IUnderstandPhotography.com on Instagram.
Out there. Dan is an amazing photographer, so definitely.
And also good seeing you again, Eli. And shout out to a lost child that we lost, that we ironically lost earlier. But
Yeah, definitely shout out to Lost Child. Hopefully we can get him back on another show. But thank you, brothers. It has been a pleasure. Much respect to you, Kings. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you, Rebirthers, for joining in tonight. I appreciate your time. You guys have a blessed night.
And same to you.
Peace.